For mouths, what I like to do, normally our mouth right here, starting with our bust fresh, that front of the mouth is pretty flat. So the first thing I like to do is take just a little bit of clay and start to round out this area a little bit. If you notice that your teeth do not really go very straight for very long because they're curved to fit inside your skull. So just giving this a little bit more of a curve can help make the mouth look a little bit more anatomically correct. So I'm not building out a lot physically. I'm just starting to get a little bit of roundness right here instead of just straight and flat. So very, very subtle amounts. It might be helpful to also maybe guide your cheek into the mouth area. If your nose still looks a little protrusive, you can add just little patches, little pancakes of clay, and kind of start to migrate that cheek volume into the mouth area. Okay. For the mouth itself, if you are showing teeth, I like to sculpt teeth prior to doing lips because it's a lot easier to draw in the teeth shape with the lips out of the way and then have the lips lay over them, because that's what happens, right? Like your lips go over your teeth. So it's a lot easier to sculpt teeth if you are deciding to have teeth show. Even if you're like, you have a grimace or a smile and maybe there's only just a little bit of teeth showing, still sculpt it now. It's a lot easier than trying to work in a really tiny opening of your mouth. So I'm just going to find that line of where my opening of my mouth is going to be. Okay, and make sure you count or observe, like have a neighbor smile for you or frown or whatever your expression is, and count how many teeth you actually see. One time I had a student sculpt teeth, and she put 32 teeth in this small of an area. I say, count how many teeth you actually have. You only have 14 on the very top. Well, we only count half, and then you double it because they're pretty symmetrical. Unless if you're my husband, he has only one wisdom tooth. So you typically have 14 to 16 just on the top if you have wisdom teeth. And she put 32 in this small of space. She's like, why do my teeth look so creepy? Well, you have like 4 times the amount that should be showing. So, just to think about the size of the actual teeth. Now, I know this totally looks super creepy. I know you get that skeletal look because skeletons don't have lips. So, I'm using the rubber shapers and just kind of making them look a little less squarish by just kind of softening the corners a little bit, okay? So I would kind of be a little putsy with that, be a little particular because it's easier to do now. If your gums are going to be showing, it's kind of like a little arch on the top of the tooth.
It's like a lot of work. Yeah, I don't know if I want to do this.
Okay, but this is only if your mouth is open enough that you could see where the gums.
Like what about what if you could just see like the bottom? No, like if you have like your mouth open, but it's not like this.
Right, that's what I just said. is if you are showing the mouth that's open enough where you see the gums, then sculpt the gums. If you don't, then you don't. Okay? All right, so let's say that that's kind of the finishing touches of my teeth. So if you don't do teeth, if you don't have any teeth showing, you can skip right to this step. You don't have to do this part of it. Now, I'm going to start with upper lip. And what I want to kind of think about is, remember the speculum to the philtrum. This was from the other day yesterday when we talked about noses. That speculum is that center part of your nose, and it leads into the philtrum, that kind of divot above your lip. Now, here's the tricky part, is that I like to make the upper lip, and it ends up looking a lot like a mustache to start with, but I like to make the upper lip a triangle. And you just got to get that triangle to fit that area. Now the key to making your triangle fit well is that it shouldn't be really thick. So that area that is going to have the philtrum, that kind of divot, should be pretty thin. So I'm just kind of pinching the top point of my triangle so it's pretty thin. Okay. And the corners of your mouth should also be pretty thin. So I'm going to pinch those a little flatter. Otherwise, what happens if you keep your triangle shape really thick, you are all going to have duck lips. Because it's going to make the corners of your mouth look like you're sticking out and pushing out your lips like goofy duck lips. So the only little round and full part of it should be the bottom of that triangle, because that's the fullest part of your lips. Okay? Now, if your bust is a little dry, I highly suggest you doing a little bit of scoring work, which means you're just going to kind of texturize the surface on both pieces. And on the back counter there are little containers of watered down clay, and we call that slip. So you would just take a little bit of slip and apply it to one side, and that acts as glue. And so then you can kind of press and blend that cheek or that upper lip into the cheek area. So you can see my lip does cover up the top part of my teeth pretty well. I know it looks kind of weird until I put that lower lip down. I like to kind of press a little bit so that I create a nice lip line. I kind of create a clean edge for those lips. And the corners of the mouths are kind of smoothed into the cheek area. Okay. You can take a little tool and make your philtrum a little more visible. Kind of leading in. Or soften it up a little. Okay. Something very similar for the lower lip then is going to be kind of like a little cocoon shape, if you will. The ends are kind of thin and pointed. The fullest part will be in the middle because that's the fullest part of your lip. This is pretty round because that lower lip has some good volume. Okay. Normally this might have to stretch, especially if you're smiling. Your lips are going to stretch out a little thinner. If you're calm, they're probably a little shorter. And here's where you can really start to play with expression. Okay? you know, maybe you're a little nervous, so you drop down like one side. You're smiling, so maybe it comes down a little more symmetrical. Maybe you're sneering, so you might have to like kind of push up one corner of
Thank you. It looks like
your mouth, so it looks like you're sneering.
Huh?
Okay, so it's all little slight adjustments to the lips that help really get that expression through. Okay, so then you can score, add a little slip, and then borrow some of that clay and smooth it down to the chin area.
Stay crying.
Okay. Once you get there, then you can kind of adjust, and maybe you need a little bit more fullness on your chin. Maybe you're going to have some creases in your cheek showing because of the expression of your mouth. So then you can just kind of start looking at all the other little muscles that are involved in your expression and kind of make it all come together.